The person who vanished without warning. There is someone in your life, or maybe you are that someone, who just stopped. No dramatic fight, no final message, no explanation posted online. One day they were there, then they were not. And the strangest part? They seem completely fine. Society has a word for this. They call it coldness. They call it avoidance. They whisper about it at family dinners. She's become so distant. He thinks he's too good for people now. But what if the people whispering have it completely backwards? What if the person who pulled away isn't broken? What if they're the only one who finally woke up? The invisible rule. You never agreed to. We are all handed a script at birth. It goes like this. Find people, keep people, need people. Build a big circle. Maintain it. Smile through it. And if you ever choose solitude, if you ever look at your phone and choose silence, you are labeled incomplete. Philosopher Elizabeth Brake gave this invisible rule a name, amatonormativity. It is the cultural assumption that every person must be oriented toward connection, romantic, social, constant, or something is wrong with them. It is not a law, it is not biology, it is a story we inherited and never questioned. And here is where it gets dark. This story doesn't just judge loners, it actively harms them. It tells aromantic people they are broken, it tells single adults they are incomplete. It tells anyone who wants less that they are settling for less. It turns a healthy human choice into a diagnosis. What your nervous system learned before you could speak. Let's go further back. Before the friends who used you. Before the relationships that drained you. Before the family dinners that felt like minefields. There was a child, probably you, learning something very important about the world. That child learned that people's moods were unpredictable, that love came with invisible conditions, that the safest position in a room was the one where you could see everyone but no one could fully reach you. Neuroscientists call this hypervigilant threat detection, a state where the brain maps social environments the way a soldier maps terrain. A 2023 study in Nature, neuroscience confirmed that people who experienced early emotional unpredictability showed heightened activity in the brain's amygdala, the threat detection center, for years afterward. Not because they were damaged, because they were learning. That learning never fully turned off. And now, as adults, it functions like a biological alarm system, one that goes off before a single word is spoken, one that says, "This person will cost you more than they return." The real difference between a wall and a door here is where the story gets complicated, because not all withdrawal is the same, and pretending otherwise is dangerous. There are people who cut others off from fear, who build walls because intimacy feels like a threat, who push away the good alongside the draining, who mistake isolation for strength. This kind of cutting off leaves a specific residue, numbness, not peace, emptiness, not clarity. And then there are people who cut others off from knowledge, who have watched patterns repeat, who have given second and third chances, who have finally quietly decided that some doors deserve to stay closed. This kind of withdrawal leaves something entirely different behind. Relief. The Centers for Disease Control confirms that prolonged social isolation carries real physical risks. 29% higher risk of heart disease, 32% higher risk of stroke. But here is what that statistic never tells you. Being surrounded by people who drain your nervous system causes measurable hormonal damage too. Chronic social stress elevates cortisol. Cortisol inflames the body. The question was never connection or no connection. The question was always which connections and at what cost. Solitude has been misnamed. This whole time, there is a word for what certain people experience when they finally step back from the noise. It is not loneliness. Loneliness is absence, the hunger for something missing. What these people feel is almost its opposite. Presence. Presence of thought. Presence of self. Presence of a quiet that finally lets them hear what they actually want. Researchers at the University of Rochester found that voluntary solitude, chosen alone time, was associated with increased self-awareness, emotional regulation, and creativity. Mandatory isolation damages people. Chosen solitude for people who understand themselves does something different. It restores them. This is the detail amatonormativity erases completely. It cannot imagine that someone might genuinely prefer their own company, not as a wound, not as a coping mechanism, but as a legitimate way of being alive. The science of the small circle Harvard ran a study on human happiness for 75 years. 75 years. It followed hundreds of people from youth into old age, measuring everything: careers, income, relationships, health. And when researchers looked at what actually predicted a long, fulfilling life, the answer was not a large social circle. It was not constant connection. It was not having people around. It was the quality of a small number of relationships. People who had 2 or 3 people who genuinely knew them, who saw them without performance, without condition, lived longer, stayed healthier, reported higher satisfaction than people surrounded by dozens of shallow connections. This means the person with a small intentional circle is not doing it wrong. They are, by every measurable standard, doing it right. The person who attends every social obligation but feels invisible inside each one is the one living in quiet deprivation, and nobody sends them a concerned text about it. What you actually are. So let's say it plainly for the person watching this who has been called cold, distant, too much, or not enough. You are not cold. Cold implies indifference. What you have is discernment, the ability to tell the difference. Between warmth and obligation, between love and performance, between connection and consumption. You are not antisocial. You are post-performance. You stopped showing up to rooms where you had to shrink yourself to fit. That is not antisocial. That is one of the quiet revolutions a person can make inside their own life. You are not running from people. You are running towards something most people never find. A version of yourself that exists without the weight of everyone else's expectations pressing down on it. And if this felt like something you needed to hear, if it named something you couldn't name before, then leave a comment below. One word, one sentence, whatever is true for you. Because the people watching this, the ones who understand it without explanation, they are not alone. They just finally learned the difference between being alone and being free. Protect your roots, especially the ones that grow in the dark.